All right, we're back to the broadcast. Honorable members in studio, Captain Joe Mutambu, Dr. Iseli Simiyu, and Honorable James Gakuya, as we speak of the political conspiracies and controversies of 2022. And gentlemen, as we continue, it appears that we have not really looked much onto the papers, but then, of course, we do not forget to touch briefly on some of the key stories that actually pertain to the politics of the day, as pressure piles on President Uhuru Kenyatta or the Uhuruto handshake. Before we even get to that, just picking up on what it is that this gentleman is speaking about, it is evident that we are at a very tricky position. And now more than ever, Honorable Gakuya, it appears like it's obvious that we're going to have, there are high possibilities of us having a runoff. Now more than ever.
Reader, the position of runoff can only be guaranteed by the outcomes of an election. These, I think, most of the elections within the world scope have been always guided by what we call a political surveys. And if you go to what we call opinion polls, in this country, a day like today, we could have seen a lot, but I don't know where these opinion polls have disappeared. They are not giving us any indications. Because as of now, we could be very close to know whether there could be a most likely runoff or not. But as things stand, there can be a runoff if there is a possibility of a third force. If we are going to have 3 presidential flag bearers, the strong ones, this is One Kenya Alliance, the Tangatanga, and
maybe
ODM.
Okay, ODM on its own, yes.
The possibility is that we can go to a runoff.
Okay.
Yes, why do I say this? Because outright, if the race will be left between 2, and probably Ruto and Laila, the possibility is that, yes, one of them will win.
Oh, yeah? 50 plus 1?
One of them will win 50 plus 1. But when you bring a third party, the other will eat from within the two sides.
Okay.
And therefore possibilities of a runoff, because the runoff will be created by anybody that will not garner, because the ratio is very high, 50 plus 1. It's not easy, I can tell you. Currently, I think the last opinion poll, we found Ruto having something to do with the 40-something. But also to gain momentum to capture the 50 plus 1 is also a huge mark.
Okay.
But I can tell you, the key players in this will be One Kenya. Okay. One Kenya will decide whether we are going to have a runoff or not. And if we are going to have a runoff, who amongst the candidates will win? Because at the end of the day, this team of One Kenya can rebrand itself, and it can become a team that actually a strong bargainer in this particular race. And it is very possible, if arithmetic can work, in the route I have told you, you may realize that we are going to have One Kenya and Tangatanga as the 2 horses. But it can be vice versa if the game of politics goes otherwise. Well, it depends on their strategy.
All right. Honorable Joe Mutambu, we went to a fresh election, that is sometimes in 2017. Wasn't a rosy situation, and the country was in a dire state economically. Well, certainly we all know how, of course, going into a runoff would again weigh the country down. And it's almost clear based on what it is that we have on ground as of now. And even if it's going to be, this is my opinion, even if it's going to be a Ruto-Raila scenario, there's quite an evident scenario where we're going to have a runoff, because these 2 gentlemen, are formidable forces, probably enjoy quite a great support in the country, and the possibilities of them getting, a 50 plus 1, or either of them getting a 50 plus 1, as of now, is not as clear. And in as much as they continue to strategize politically, what would it mean in the event that we are to go for a runoff?
Yeah, before I dive into your question, I want to support what Mheshimiwa Sena said about Mount Kenya and Uhuru Kenyatta. Those who are casting aspersion that Uhuru has done nothing in Mount Kenya, they are totally wrong, and they are lying to Kenyans.
Okay.
In this scenario, I don't know where to classify my good friend Kakuo, because he's a member of Kasarani. And
of Embakasi,
Nairobi region. I don't know whether to classify him by his name or where he represents, because his interest must be in Nairobi, where we are seeing a road flying over, which we have not ever seen before. So on that note, I want to support selling 100% because I also, for some good reason, that I got my better half from
that region.
Kenya.
Okay.
But I'm very conversant with Mount Kenya, and I know what kind of development Uhuru has done there. Secondly, and I want you to underline my quote, I would say that nothing goes wrong. It starts wrong. Nothing goes wrong.
Okay.
It starts wrong. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta started his regime with a new constitution. The constitution we are trying to amend today. And with the 47 counties, every governor from national government are giving out that money to counties for development and expecting development to be undertaken by the counties. That is also another contributor for what is happening in our country economically. If you look at the scenario of this country with a microscope, so you will understand that we have so many pockets which are getting money, not in one central place whereby the president will say we have enough and I'm able to pick this from here. Actually, I wonder how is he managing 47 counties plus his government, 48 governments in one country. And if very well, I was the person who came up with the suggestion of trying to reduce the counties, although I did not get popular on that issue.
Right.
But if you look at it critically, with the kind of government we have in our country and the size of our country and the contribution Kenyans make through the taxes and what we spend, I will leave that to experts to analyze. But coming back to your question about now going to run, if the so-called Okoa, I don't know whether it is Okoa or Oka, decide everybody to go their own way, with my own experience and with my own intelligence, I am not seeing anything near runoff.
Okay.
What? Because Kenyans have become wiser.
These gentlemen are wise enough not to go it on their own, and I think that is one thing that is.
I will tell you, there is one thing. There is one thing which will make them not to go, not to unite. One, let me be rude. The greed in them, that everyone wants to be the president.
Okay.
Number two, the situation they are in. We have Kalonzo Musyoka there who by any means feels that if I don't make it to run, if I don't make to run this time, it's over for me. There will be nothing for me next time. There is Mudavadi, who is a bit younger than Kalonzo. That one he may have a chance next time. But he feels that this is my time to run. All right? There is Gideon Moi, my good friend, whom his constituency has been consumed by Keleweke. So if you look at all those scenarios, and everybody says that I must run on my own, and here on the background they are dismissing Raila Amolo Odinga, I would tell them they dismiss Raila Amolo Odinga at their own peril.
Okay.
Because this is one man you cannot dismiss at this particular moment. And if you ask me today, yes, I come from Ukambani. I know Kambas will vote for their man, but not to the last man. That is 100% sure. Okay. So when Kalonzo is starting, he will not start with a full basket from his area. Many Kambas will divide and they will go their own way because they will vote to where they think they will win. And I want to tell you that the Kenyans nowadays, they have come to realization that if you vote outside a winning team, then you are a loser, and there is nobody who would want to lose. That is another question we need to ask ourselves. Which team is likely to win? And if Kenyans see that there are so many divisions among our leaders, they will settle with either the two, and that is where the votes will go. People will cast their vote to the direction where they think this is the team which is going to win. Okay. But because I know for 100%, if Gideon, a good friend of mine, stands today, we ask ourselves, what are the chances of him winning? If Musalia stands today, what are his chances of winning? If Kalonzo stands today, what are the chances? And as it is today, I want to tell you without fear of any contradiction, it is very clear that there are only two horses. The rest are others. You know, when you ask Simiyu, he'll tell you, when Simiyu is running and is the strong contester in his area, he may only pick one or two people who are strong following him. The rest, we call them others. You find a pack of 10, 20 people vying, but it is only two people who are strong, the rest are referred as others.
Let's
so
hear
if
what
these guys will fight on their own, they will become others in this contest.
Right,
and when we become others, then we have no irrelevance.
Let's hear what the viewer has to say in regards to these two contenders that you speak about, the formidable ones for this matter. I'd want to believe is Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. Amin Yusuf Mohammed says he will obviously endorse Raila, this in regards to these other ones, and 2022 will be Baba's farewell in a political career. The son of Sugoi already took the lead. As we speak now, he is the most preferred candidate in 254. Others are just busy waiting endorsements from the president, while Deputy President William Ruto is visiting every county and launching his manifesto to the people. His team is busy explaining the bottom-up economic model, which I don't know whether they have done so well. And we are witnessing a paradigm shift in our politics. Kenyans are now talking about ideologies. No more tribal politics. I don't know whether the son of Sugoi is presenting that to us. But speaking of the scenario of, the possibilities of us going for a runoff.
First, I would like to say that this thing that people are now not talking about tribes, they are talking about issues. That's a camouflage. Yeah. That's a camouflage. The tribe is still there.
It's still there.
It's still there. Somebody's trying to run away from it because you see, the argument in the country has been that since independence, the house on the hill has only been occupied by two communities. So somebody's trying to run away from that by creating a smokescreen. To say that now we are talking about issues, not tribes, which is not entirely true. And then there are those people who feel that they gain more by criticizing Raila. And it has become their pet pastime to criticize Raila, like the One Kenya Alliance people. I still wonder at them because their main opponent here is William Ruto. Yeah. But they are always out criticizing Raila. So you start wondering, haven't they realized that, especially that part that comes from Western, haven't they realized that William Ruto is trying to make inroads into Western? So when they are concentrating on Raila and Ruto is moving, so you start wondering, aren't they seeing the real thing that is going on? Because I think when it comes to matters of runoff, first I want to say this clearly. IBC stands indicted on the issue of fair elections in this country. And when you talk of a possible runoff, I don't know whether IBC will actually conduct an election that will actually end up in a runoff.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, and I'll just give you a simple example.
Okay.
When you look at, if you look at the US elections, the past US elections, and you look at how Congress is constituted,
yes,
you realize that the close to call election that happened is also represented in the Congress by the number of people, the Republicans and the Democrats. That there's a reserve kind of set up there. Yeah. That also reflects what happened in the elections. But here in Kenya, you find that, for example, if Uhuru has won with 55%, okay, of the vote, let's say, but when you come to the National Assembly, then you find that Jubilee has got 65%.
Okay.
There's something wrong.
There's something amiss.
That maths doesn't add up at all. And that's why I'm saying IEBC stands indicted.
These ones should be parallel.
They are the cause of the problems in this country.
Okay.
And they better shape up or they are going to ban this country. They need to really shape up and do a proper job. So if we are talking about a possibility of a runoff, we would like to see it also reflected
in Parliament,
in the number of elected people from the respective parties.
Okay.
Because it can't be that I'm voting here, I'm voting for Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, okay, or I'm voting for Raila Amolo Odinga, but now I've voted for a Jubilee MP.
It will be interesting.
And then the MCAs are totally different. There's something wrong that IEBC is doing.
But we've seen presidents getting into it to hang parliaments.
No, it's time we faced IEBC square on and tell them, no, you are messing up this country. Because the numbers in parliament do not reflect the percentages of the presidential vote.
Okay.
There's something wrong. And we cannot just sit back. We are going into an election. We are not going to sit back and just say, no, everything is kosher. It's not.
But hold it right there. Maybe
so if we get to a point where it will be that kind of election that we might end up with a runoff, I don't know whether IEBC as it is constituted is capable of delivering an election that will actually end up with a runoff.
Well, it will be interesting to watch because
I may also
what they have delivered so far does not reflect. It's totally jumbled up.
Okay.
It does not reflect. I've just given you the example of the American election.
Right.
You can see the closeness of it is also reflected in Congress. While for us here, you find that Jubilee ends up with a tyranny of numbers in the assembly.
Okay, in the assembly, right?
Yet, when you look at the presidential vote, the divide was not that way. What is IEBC trying to reflect to us? What is IEBC telling us? You see,
but there are possibilities of that.
No, that IEBC, there's something wrong there.
Oh, yeah?
Iko kitu mbaya hapo ndani. Because you should have a reflection. It should actually reflect.
Technically speaking, why I'm asking this is because you remember even when the president was campaigning, before we come to you, Honorable Gakuya, he kept reminding his people, make sure that you give me this all the way. It was called six piece.
Yes.
Let's do it all the way down, because he acknowledges the possibilities where people could say it's all right, we front you, we endorse you, but then at the level of parliament they decide otherwise. At the level of a county assembly they decide otherwise, and therefore it was crucial for them going out there to campaign and reminding the people the importance of according them the 6 piece.
It is true, but I'm saying when you look at the numbers, the division. It does not reflect the percentage votes.
Okay.
Because remember, the repeat election, people are not voting for MPs.
Right.
They're already finished voting for the MPs.
That's true.
So that election that was nullified, if you look at the percentage vote for His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and you look at the percentage majority in parliament, no, something is wrong. Okay. And IEBC needs to answer this.
All right.
Yes, they should not just sit there pretending that they are doing the right thing. We can see through them.
Why is it that people are not asking these pertinent questions as you respond to that?
No, we asked them before, but they refuse to answer. They just keep on papering over it.
They still are opening the servers.
First and foremost, Linda, let us agree on one thing, that in terms of representation, we have not done the best. You realize that, in fact, there are areas where elections of, let us put an election of a presidential election in America, where their methodology works very well.
Yeah.
Because they use what we call colleges. Those colleges depends on the presentation, because it depends on the numbers of population, because the college represent numbers. Here you find that you have a constituency which is 3 times a constituency. It is represented by a single member. Therefore, that particular representation is not fair at all. Because once we come to those expected numbers, you cannot see them in parliamentary numbers or civic numbers, because from the beginning, that representation is not taken care of. If as a country we need to move to that level, then we must come clean and give Electoral Commission a fair deal so that they can give us what we call clear representation where the numbers will work. And therefore we find a situation where no single member of parliament will be having elected with 20,000 number of people, when we have another somebody representing that 300 numbers of people. That representative can't work. And if we want to see that particular mathematics to work, I can tell you it won't work, because the numbers cannot reflect in the manner that my colleague will want.
Okay.
Because just as like example of Roiro. Roiro is just next year. Arroyo constituency is a constituency with voters which are over 200 number.
500
Yes, suppose that's a one single member of parliament. How would he be compared with a member of Ijara who is elected by a 20,000 number? And we have many, many other Ijaras. Where is that fairness? When we come to parliament, you will not see those big numbers. Because we can see those numbers if that constituency is printed to represent the actual.
Does it reflect what it is that you say, his argument?
No, it doesn't. Because you see, even Nairobi itself has got more constituencies than the other places.
Counties.
I mean, there are constituencies in Nairobi which are even smaller than a ward in my constituency. Right. So actually much, much smaller. So the thing is, the people are there, yes. You represent the people, but you see, the other amenities that you are actually enjoying are actually from the county government, and you are quite better off. So definitely, on demarcation of constituencies, one has to consider urban and rural constituencies and use different yardsticks to demarcate those constituencies. What I'm trying to say here, what I'm trying to say here,
what are we going to do? We are going to do this. Let's take those figures is the thing. Is the numbers.
Let's take Nairobi.
Yeah.
And the number of voters in Nairobi. Let's look at the vote pattern in Nairobi alone. What percentage went to His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta? What percentage went to Raila Amolo Odinga? Let's look at the number of MPs in Nairobi. What percentage went with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta? What percentage went with Raila Amolo Odinga?
Okay.
You'll find the same skewing that's reflected in the National Assembly is again reflected in the Nairobi outcome.
That will be.
This is something that we can't escape from. If we want a good election, an election that everybody is satisfied that justice has been done, IEBC must come clean.
Okay. Well, for the longest of time across Africa.
The leader at this particular point in time, SG is head of a political party. Political parties are the peoples entrusted also to build these electoral bodies. They are part of the processes. Right. Then they must come up. Surely, we are not expecting to have angels to come to man our elections. Our election must be manned by one of us. Therefore, if there is a problem and it is not addressed now, at what time?
That responsibility you have given me as one of the leaders of our political party is what has made me come out with this and say IEBC needs to re-examine themselves. If we are going to a tight election where there's a possibility of a runoff, then we need a more credible way of conducting our elections. So we don't have the issues that I've just pointed out, which by the way, these things started way back before in the soon after multi-party 1992, whereby Moi would win the election as president with about 30-something% of the total votes cast. So it means that the rest of the 65% votes went to the opposition, although it was fragmented. Right. But then when you get into the National Assembly, Kanu still had the majority.
Still had the numbers.
There was something wrong.
Well, we have to close, gentlemen. Honorable Joe Mutambu, as we close, maybe in 1 minute, just how dire and crucial is it for us to have the president and the deputy put their house in order as we head for an election?
For the sake of peace of this country, it is very important for those to sit in one table. For the sake of the peace of this country, because it is, the leaders are the mirror of the people we lead. The people look at us, how we behave and how we take one another. So it is very important for those two to sit in one table for the sake of the peace of this country. Not saying that we do not have peace, we do have peace, but the electorate or the people who follow us, they look at how we behave ourselves, then they behave in the same manner. It is the reflection of how the leaders behave. Right. But talking about, I would not want you to close without me saying something about
Make it very brief because we have only 30 seconds.
I'll take it very
Yeah.
Yes, I'll take it very briefly. I want to agree with Gaguia on what he's saying. The matrix of how our voting pattern, it cannot be compared with American, because the system they use, the methodology they use is totally different from ours. And if you look at the numbers of some areas and the numbers of other areas, they don't similarly tally. And I think this is, as much as people may not agree with the BBI, if people listened keenly on what BBI was to do, that is one area BBI could have cured with the creation of the 70 more constituencies, bringing in equal numbers in every constituency. That way, then we would be able now to argue the way Eseli is arguing. But as it is, we cannot put that argument forward, because there are some constituencies with double or triple the number than the others. And that now changes the whole scenario of how much or how many percentage this president got in the parliament and how many percentage got in its vote. So my take and my request to the leaders today is first to put the country forward. And my advice to Oka Kenya, you go your own way, go out there and perish, or unite and get something. And you must unite under one front. You must unite either behind Raila or behind Ruto. You go and unite with yourselves, you will only become yourselves. You will become others. That is my advice.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Joe Mutambu, Chairman Ketrako, and Honorable Dr. Eseli Simiyu, Member of Parliament, Tongaren and Bakasi North, Member of Parliament, Honorable James Gakuya. Gentlemen, we have to close it at that. I guess someday we're going to discuss the numbers, the matrix, just get into crunching the numbers, so at least Kenyans can be able to understand what we get ourselves into when we're talking about the general elections, or generally elections in the country. So we close it at that. We get to a different conversation altogether on matters of relationships, as we just get to understand how you can deal with toxic exes. They can really get toxic if you're not careful. After this break.